There was a report from Michael Russo yesterday in The Athletic. Michael Russo, who covers the Minnesota Wild. He also is on, I think, SiriusXM. But he reported yesterday that the Minnesota Wild offered center Marco Rossi as a starting package and were willing to include more in a Peterka trade, but the Sabres did not want to add another undersized forward. Now, there was also some Frank Saravelli talk yesterday, as he's been talking about this Peterka stuff for a while, and he said that he thought Noah Dobson from the Islanders or Jordan Kyrou from St. Louis, like really good players. Really good players. Better players than what the Sabres got in exchange. At least more famous players, more credible ideas. Star players in some regard. Dobson's a defenseman who has a 70-point season 2 years ago. Kyrou scored 30 goals like 4 years in a row. These are players that Saravelli said yesterday were on the table. That doesn't mean, though, that they were being offered straight up. Maybe they wanted the Sabres to add in something really valuable on top of it. I don't know. But this is a little bit more definitive, and it is from a Minnesota Wild reporter that has not been in on this Peterka stuff at all. So you might want to believe it's coming from the Wild. That they were willing to offer Rossi and more. I said earlier in the week, I would have traded Peterka for Marco Rossi straight up. And I guess where some people might like to hear this part of it, I tend to think it's not smart to run an organization where you're passing on a better value deal, maybe even by a lot, because of a certain team need. And what happened yesterday was that in that Rossi story, he wrote, the Sabres did not want to add another undersized forward. And that's why they didn't want to do a deal with Marco Rossi centered around it. The player who, by the way, they passed on to select Jack Quinn in the COVID draft 2020. And Rossi has been a better player. I think you're just taking it a little too far with your own team needs when you are passing on a 23-year-old centerman who has 100 points in his last 2 years. His only 2 full years in the league. He has scored 20 goals in each of them. He has 100 points between the two, 60 of those coming last season. And he plays a position where, let's face it, the Sabres are not all set. Josh Norris is injury prone. Yuri Kulik is really young and is yet to take the big step forward. McLeod's a third-line center who had a really high shooting percentage last year, so you probably should expect his goal total to come down just a little bit. You're not all set there. This player, yes, Michael Kesselring and Josh Doan are team need guys, but Rossi was so much more valuable. And the idea that they would not be looking to add anybody else that is undersized, or if that's the genesis of why they wouldn't have wanted to do this, I mean, I do understand it. What the Sabres are trying to do right now is, instead of stockpiling talent, which is what it appeared they had been doing, which is what you usually should be doing, in the first 2-3 years of Kevin Adams being the general manager, now it does feel like they are more in a team building phase where they would be willing to pass on a better player because they view right shot defense, Owen Power partner, big size, defense also, by the way, as bigger needs of the team. I do think that's defendable. I would prefer you go for Rossi because he's the better player, and I also think that your top six is still a need. I do think you've got to continue to find ways to score goals, and this player would have done that for you. So, no, you wouldn't have been able to get your big right shot defenseman, but this is a good player. And what the Peterka trade does is it does open up a hole up there. And how will they get it? The Byram trade market softening, according to Friedman this morning, that's not necessarily great to hear. Because the odds that what are the odds they do replace Peterka? Like they fully replace, they get a guy who's going to score 25 to 30 goals, and he's going to put up 60-plus points. What are the odds that they actually accomplish that? That could be internal or external.
They need to.
They do need to. I think they would even tell you they know they need to. But what are the they have a couple of different avenues to do it. They have the Byram trade, which we can debate how confident we are that they'll get that player from that. They have free agency, which Brian Russ maybe, that's a name that maybe they're interested in. There was a rumor about that, and he scored 30 goals last year. He's a little older, 33. But he's going to have a market, and you got to convince him to come here. Or, and this is where I hope they don't end up, but it's very possible they do, is we are going to bet on that 25 to 30 goal production being replaced by one of Yuri Kulik, Zach Benson, or Jack Quinn.
If they end up in that place, doesn't that really reinforce in your mind? I know it does in my mind that the Peterka thing was about money.
To me, one of the two. It's either about money or it was about the coaching.
Right.
It was about that Lindy was a tougher coach that worked the guys harder than maybe they had been before. And Peterka, just, speculating here, just, trying to guess at what could have happened. Maybe he didn't react well to that.
Right. I think that's possible, but I don't think it would be excusable to have traded away a player of Peterka's caliber, seen him sign a contract that, frankly, is less than I would have thought he'd be demanding.
Mm-hmm.
And if your plan is, Jack Quinn's got it, are you trying to make the playoffs? Is that really what you're doing if that's your plan? I mean, seriously, that cannot be where they go. It cannot happen again. They can't do it. They've been doing this for years, and that move would just be a cherry on top of these press conferences and these moves and all of this from this regime that has done nothing but feed that belief. And if they reinforce it by trading away a good young player that does something that you need, they need to score goals. They need to do that to win games. We've seen that they're not going to be a dynamo there, and you just took away another guy that does a lot of that for you. If you can't find a way to replace that guy, you are forfeiting. You're forfeiting.
Yeah.
You can't do it. It's ridiculous. You need to make a move to replace that. It just cannot be, we're just going to hope that these guys that we took that we've seen haven't done it are going to do it. You can't do it. It's the same in net. It's the same. It's way too much of this. You're running a team. You need to run the team. You can't hope the team runs itself. Find a way. You have to replace it. You have to.
I really do think if they don't, I think they know they need it. They definitely know they need it.
Of course.
It would really be, it would be a bit of an indictment on the general manager. I know, we're jumping the gun a little bit here because they probably will do something.
Right.
And then it will be the sales pitch of, well, is this the guy they really wanted? Well, how much does this player, really fill the need? If it's a Jason Zucker 2.0, it's not Brian Rust. It's a guy who scored 12 goals last year, but guys, 3 years ago, he scored 32, and we think we can refine that. It's going to depend how toughest. If they add Jordan Kyrou, it's not a tough sell at all. You've done it.
Right.
You've added a guy that you can bank on. That player is going to come in and he's going to score goals for you. But I do think it is probably likely that there will be something that they do to play in the top 6. It's just going to come down to how sellable it is.
Right.
And if it's more sellable than, what, I think we're getting hot about here, which is a plan of, one of the kids is going to do it for us.
Yeah, that is, I get how hard it is. Like, Buffalo, taxes and palm trees. We know. But you've got to find a way to do something. And that's exactly, like, you might not be able to land a Jason Robertson. Okay. But you cannot rest on these kids that we drafted might be able to do it.
The other thing that I wonder, I've had a big thought about free agency and wondering what's the messaging going to be, assuming they don't land a big name, because I don't think they will. But will we hear that they tried? Because I get the sense from the Sabres that if they might not even go after guys because they're afraid of this, but if they were to go after a big name, they wouldn't want anybody to know that they did if they don't sign them, because it'll look like they failed. Right. I get that sentiment from the team that they don't want that out there. Like, if they were to go after, I'm not even making Marner, they were to go after Nikolai Ehlers.
Right.
A player we've been talking about for a decade coming to Buffalo. He's a free agent. There's a report yesterday that he's going to hit free agency. If the Sabres were going to try really hard to get Nikolai Ehlers, and they weren't able to accomplish that, I'd want to know about that. I think they would actually get a little bit of credit for that in some ways.
Exactly.
Because you at least were trying. We're seeing that you're trying to get that player. You could still sit there and say, well, Adam's job is not to try. His job is to do it. But we question whether they even try sometimes.
Exactly. I think that would go a long way to battle away the they're not even trying to get those kind of names in here.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of that. I mean, we heard it today with a couple callers. Like, they're not trying to do what they need to do. And that, I think if you heard they made a serious pitch to whatever, Marner or whoever.
Make it Ehlers even, because he's not the number one free agent, but he's good.
And I would love them to sign Ehlers. I think he'd be perfect to replace Peterka. That's the exact kind of move that I would love to see them make.
Yeah.
Even if you just get out there, they were in it. They really tried. They offered him a competitive contract. Ehlers just didn't want to go. I think you're not going to build up any more reputation for how hard it is to get players here. You've already done that to yourself enough. So what you can do is show, all right, I'm going to try and do it.
Yeah.
And that would really, I think, go a long way for the fan base.
Do we call that a rant from Owen just now? The chat thinks that was a rant. I think it graduates to rant status.
It was a productive rant, though.
It was for sure.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to get ranty about them sometimes.
Also,
especially that kind of thing.
Also, we have a poll up right now. If you've seen one zoo, you've seen them all. Yes or no? That's a poll question right now.
Good poll.
By the way,
it's actually pretty close.
Do zoos around the world get like animals from America? Like, is there like a zoo in Kenya that has like squirrels and deer?
I don't know about that. Like other maybe deer, like or elk or something. I don't know. I'm sure they would get something from here though. Yeah, but I don't know if you would go all the way down to like rabbits. Locally. Jay, if you stay on hold, we'll get to you when we come back from the break. We got a Utah guest coming up at 9:00. Yeah, the Sabres. How confident are you they'll replace Peterka's goals? We all know they need to. How confident are you that they're actually going to accomplish that over the next couple of days? 803-0550 is the phone number. It's draft night, 7 o'clock tonight here on WGR.